Hello and welcome back to day 10 of Inktober Tangles 2025. I'm Martha and I'm going to be leading you through today's tangle, which is Zenith. We'll be doing two different variations of the tangle. We will be starting with a very simple version and then we will be going on to something a little bit more complex. I'm drawing the simple version on a bijou tile using a black Pigma Micron 01 pen. So I'm starting by drawing a bumpy line from one corner to the opposite corner. I'm now turning the tile around and I'm going to draw more curves, and notice how I'm starting at what are now kind of U shapes, and I'm going from the middle of a U shape to the middle of the next one. And what that's doing is kind of creating a little string of seeds, if you will. Next, I'm going to add some diagonal lines here, or an upside down V, to create some kind of like diamond shapes in those little valleys. I'm going to turn the tile and do the same thing on the other side. So it kind of reminds me of like thorns on a rose stem. Next, I'm going to aura the entire tangle. I'm going to start here on this left side, and I'm always turning my tile so I'm drawing in a comfortable way. I apologize that the camera is focusing in on my hand and not the tangle, but we're just auraing, so we're drawing a line next to what has already been put down on the tile. And an aura, if you're new to Zentangle, is an enhancer, a Zentangle enhancer, or a tangle enhancer, I should say. Next, I'm going to add some orbs to the top of those kind of thorns or pointed V shapes. And I'm going to start to fill those orbs in just a little bit. I'm going to leave a little bit of white in the middle though, so I'm not filling them in completely. To add some shading to this tangle, I am taking the graphite pencil and putting down some graphite on that outside edge. So outside of that aura line, I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm taking my tortillon and blending that graphite into the paper and softening up its edge so it creates a glow effect. And there we go. I'm going to add a little bit of graphite into those diamond shapes, just so the tangle is not so light. And then, of course, blending that in. So always want a balance of light, dark, and then some gray areas in our tangles. And of course, the last thing I want to do is label the back and make sure I write the name of the tangle so that if I need to reference it in the future, if I don't remember the name of this tangle, because there are so many, I will have it written down on the back. For the more complex version of this tangle, I'm going to use a regular just white tile, regular white Zentangle tile, and I'm going to add 4 corners, but notice that I'm creating a diamond in the middle of this square. So 4 dots and then connecting them with a line to create a diamond. I'm now going to come in with a Pigma Micron 01 pen in black, and I'm going to add 9 orbs, 3 across the top, 3 at the bottom, and then 3 in the middle. And we're actually going to start out with the Huggins tangle. And we'll be adding the Zenith in a moment, but the middle of this tile is going to have the Huggins tangle drawn in it. The next part can be a little tricky, so I've slowed the video down. I'm going to take off and land from the top left corner down to the middle orb. And I'm drawing a curved line, and then I'm going to go to the 2 orbs to the right and do the same thing. Take off from the top and land below. Then I'm going to start at the center orb, take off and land down to the bottom, and then take off and land to the bottom right orbs. I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to do the same steps. So I'm starting in the top left corner, taking off and landing below. Sorry, the angle is not its best. I'm going to the middle, taking off and landing below. And then I'm going to go to the middle orb, take off and land below. And the right side, take off and land in the very bottom right corner. There are a few more curved lines following the same steps, taking off and landing, and I'm drawing on the kind of the outside of that original square that was drawn with the graphite pencil. So starting on the left side and drawing down to the orb below, turning the tile, starting on that middle orb and drawing down to the orb on the bottom. And it's like it closes off these little shapes. The Huggins tangle is usually done with a lot more orbs, and so you have a lot more of these kind of over under kind of weaving, knitting, crocheting look. It's a really beautiful tangle, and I really encourage you to explore it on a larger scale. But anyway, moving on to the next part. So now getting back to the Zenith tangle. So starting in the middle of one of those little 4 Huggins shapes, I'm going to be drawing a bumpy line out to the corner. I'm turning the tile and I'm going to do the same thing to the next little Huggins shape. And I'm drawing a bumpy line out to the edge of the tile. And if it doesn't line up with the corner, it doesn't matter. So I'm starting here in the middle and drawing out a bump and a bump and a bump. And a little bit more of one. I'm going to repeat that bumpy line starting in the middle of each of the bumps and drawing down to the next bump. And what that does is kind of create a little string of seed or pod shapes. So I'm going bump to bump, the middle of the bump to the middle of the next bump. So middle and bump it over to the middle of the next and the next. The next step is to add some upside down V's. And that's going to create these little diamonds in the valleys of the bumpy line that we just drew. And I'm just going to turn my tile clockwise and do that to each of these Zenith tangles that are coming out from the Huggins tangle. I've now flipped my tile the opposite direction and I'm adding these diamond shapes to the other side. Next, I'm going to aura the entirety of the two tangles. So I'm just choosing one place to start, and I'm drawing a line next to both tangles, and then I'm going to turn my tile and just auraing around each section. I'm now adding some orbs to the top of the points, or those kind of diamond shapes, and I'm drawing the orb and I'm starting to fill it in, but I'm not filling it in completely. I'm leaving a little bit of white right in the center. I'm now going to create a second aura around the entirety of the two tangles. Please feel free to pause the video and take your time, and I will meet you at the next step. We're going to revisit the Huggins tangle and aura on the inside of these kind of scroll shapes. So I'm auraing on the longer of the four sides, and then I'm going to turn my tile and go to the next kind of little scroll. That's what they remind me of, kind of old-fashioned scrolls from long ago. I've switched to a graphic 1 pen. This is my favorite of the broader tipped pens. So a Pigma Micron graphic 1 in black, and I'm using it to color in those diamond shapes. So we can add a little bit more, kind of a few more darker areas. There's a lot of light on this tile right now, and we want to add some more black. Again, Zentangle tiles should be a nice balance of light and dark and some shades of gray.
He heads for the elevator, his mind spinning. Ray is more dangerous than Edward. He's smarter. This is bad. As the elevator doors part in the lobby, he slips his hand into his pocket.
I'm now going to start to add some graphite to the Huggins. So I'm going to be shading the outside curves, so those kind of C shapes, to the outside of those scrolls as I see them. Just adding some graphite there. I'm being pretty heavy-handed. And then I'm going to add it to the opposite side as well. I'm also going to add some graphite to the last aura, so the outside edge, the outside border of the entire Zentangle drawing. And so now I'm coming in with my tortillon and softening up that graphite. So just blending it into the tooth of the paper and getting rid of that kind of like harsh edge that happens naturally when you color in with your pencil. But just blending in and softening it up, and it just creates this beautiful glow, this beautiful gray glow. And there we go. This beautiful variation of the Zenith Tangle. It's been combined with the Huggin Tangle. So I'm going to add my chop here in a not so obvious place, and then label the back in case I want to reference this later. And that's a wrap on day 10. So that's the Zenith Tangle, a variation of it, along with the Huggins Tangle. I want to say thank you again for joining me, drawing along with me, and I look forward to doing it again tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.